Have you ever seen a flight radar map just go completely empty over a massive region? It is a chilling sight, and it is happening right now. We are watching a serious escalation where missiles have been launched from Iran at Israel. The good news is there are no immediate reports of injuries, but the details are intense. According to an Israeli defense source cited by the Times of Israel, one missile heading for central Israel was intercepted by air defenses, while the IDF says another struck an open area. But the sirens are still sounding across several parts of the country. If you are there or know someone who is, the police advice is strict. Avoid non-essential travel. They need the roads clear for security forces to move freely and safely. If an alert comes in, pull over safely and find protection immediately. Before dawn, videos surfaced purportedly showing missiles flying low and fast over Iraq, streaking towards Iran. This is a joint strike being called Operation Lion's Roar, approved by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and officials are warning that Israel is bracing for several days of conflict. The reaction was instant. Iraq closed its national airspace, and flights were grounded at Erbil International Airport. You are looking at a situation where the entire Middle East is basically holding its breath right now. Iran has officially announced the launch of what they are calling dozens of attack drones toward Israel, and this marks a massive new phase in this escalation. In their statement, the Iranian army described this as their first extensive drone offensive operation, specifically targeting what they call the Zionist regime site. But here is the thing about drone warfare: it is a slow burn. Military officials say these drones will actually take several hours to reach Israeli airspace. Usually, fighter jets try to intercept them way before they even cross the border. But while everyone is watching the skies over Israel, the conflict has already exploded in Iraq. Over the northern city of Erbil, the US-led coalition has intercepted multiple incoming threats. Kurdish security forces confirmed that they successfully shot down several missiles and explosive-laden drones. Thankfully, there were no casualties or damage reported there. However, it is a much darker scene south of Baghdad. At least 4 explosions struck Jerf al-Sakar, and the toll is rising. At least 2 fighters from Iraq's Popular Mobilization Forces, also known as Hasht al-Shabi, were killed, and 3 others were seriously wounded. A spokesperson for the PIMEF confirmed these numbers and said search operations are still ongoing to find more victims. Remember, this group is a predominantly Shiite paramilitary faction that was formally integrated into Iraq's state security forces, so striking them is a huge deal. It just shows that this is not just a two-sided fight anymore. It is dragging in multiple fronts across the region. You know the situation is critical when an entire country shuts down its sky. That is exactly what Iraq just did. As the security situation deteriorated, they moved swiftly to close their airspace. The Transport Ministry made the call on Saturday, right after ensuring all civilian air traffic had safely cleared the area. It makes sense when you consider that groups in Iraq are aligned with Iran, making this incredibly sensitive. Ministry spokesperson Mam Al-Safi confirmed the closure, citing growing fears about missiles crossing right over Iraqi territory. And this is all happening in the shadow of Israel's massive military operation, Lion's Roar, which launched early Saturday. Israeli authorities have already declared a special and immediate state of emergency across the country. Meanwhile, President Trump is not mincing words. He confirmed major combat operations inside Iran, stating the goal is to defend American people by eliminating imminent threats. But the scary part is how far the ripples are spreading. We are seeing casualties in Iraq and airspace closures everywhere, and on the ground in Israel, it is terrifying. Sirens sounded in Tel Aviv and across central Israel for the second barrage of the day. People were told to immediately enter safe rooms. It did not stop there. The alarm spread north to Haifa. The Israeli military confirmed their air defense systems are active and intercepting ballistic missiles right now. The message to civilians is stark and clear: stay inside protected spaces. The confrontation has expanded beyond a single flashpoint and is now covering the entire region. You might want to pay attention to the Red Sea right now, because things just got very complicated again. Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthi rebels have officially announced they are preparing to resume attack, and not just on ships, but on Israel too. This is a direct response to the joint American-Israeli attack on Iran, and it is raising huge concerns for one of the world's most critical shipping corridors. We are getting reports from 2 senior Houthi officials speaking anonymously, who say this renewed campaign will involve missile and drone strikes targeting commercial routes. One official even dropped a bombshell warning that the first strike under this resumed offensive could come as soon as tonight. It is a major shift because, if you remember, the Houthis had previously paused these Red Sea attacks under an misunderstanding with the Trump administration. They had also suspended operations against Israel after a ceasefire reduced fighting in Gaza. But clearly, the gloves are off now. The Middle East is facing a dramatic escalation after U.S. and Israeli forces targeted multiple locations inside Iran. Tehran did not hesitate to respond, launching missiles toward Israel and several military bases where U.S. forces are stationed. The exchange has been so intense that several nations have been forced to close their airspace as a precautionary measure. Governments saw this coming. Many had already urged their citizens to evacuate high-risk areas days ago. The coming hours are going to be absolutely crucial in determining if this spirals into a full-blown open conflict. You might be wondering if this is the moment diplomatic channels finally broke down completely. Before dawn even broke over the Middle East, the sky literally lit up. We are seeing social media videos purportedly filmed over Iraq showing missiles flying low and fast, streaking straight towards Iran. And moments later, explosions were reported inside Iranian territory. This is a coordinated move. Israeli and U.S. forces carried out joint strikes targeting regime sites, and they have given this operation a name, Lion's Roar. According to officials, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu personally approved that title, replacing the internal IDF designation. And let me tell you, Israel is bracing for several days of conflict. But look at the immediate fallout. As those missiles crossed Iraqi airspace, Baghdad responded fast. Iraq's transportation ministry announced the closure of national airspace immediately. Flights at Erbil International Airport were grounded. If you looked at a live flight radar map at that moment, it was chilling. You saw vast stretches of the Middle East just empty. No civilian aircraft. Corridors that are usually packed were just cleared out. It is a visual record of escalation. Minutes after the attack, President Trump went on his Truth Social platform to explain why. He said the objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from what he called a vicious group. He pointed out that for 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America. He brought up the receipt, reminding everyone of the violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran where hostages were held for 444 days. He cited the 1983 Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel and the attack on the USS Cole in the year 2000. He also linked this directly to the present, blaming Iran's proxies for the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel that slaughtered more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. Trump made his policy crystal clear, stating that this regime can never have a nuclear weapon. You have to look at the numbers coming out since this morning because they are startling. We are talking about preliminary assessments showing around 35 ballistic missiles launched from Iran Strait at Israeli territory. Now, while the air defense systems did their job and intercepted some of them, here is the worrying part. Others actually breached the shield and struck open areas. It really marks a serious moment in this escalation, because seeing multiple projectiles penetrate that famous layered defense network is not something you see every day. The fallout is literally falling from the sky. Police are getting numerous reports of missile and interceptor fragments landing all over the place, triggering emergency responses and, understandably, a lot of public anxiety. Even without direct hits on city centers, the debris itself is dangerous. Medics from the Magen David Adom ambulance service reported that at least one man in his 50s was lightly injured in northern Israel. And get this, he was hurt after falling into a hole caused by missile fragments. It is a bizarre and terrifying reality. Responders are also treating people injured just from the chaos of rushing to shelters or suffering from acute anxiety. It just underscores that the toll is not just physical, it is psychological too. 35 ballistic missiles in a single wave is a huge volume of fire, and sustained barrages like this can stretch even the most advanced defensive capabilities. With reports of another wave potentially on the way, the next few hours are going to be critical to see if that protective shield can hold up or if this regional conflict is about to get even deeper.